Hey, and thanks for joining me on my porch for this week's porch video. Who do I have out here? Baby Stella, girl. I wanted to circle back on something I briefly mentioned in this week's You Have the Power to podcast. And the title of the podcast is Queen Bees and the Wannabes, which is a title based off of a book. And I mentioned that in the podcast. I refer to that. What I wanted to talk about is validation. And I briefly mentioned validation a little bit on a soapbox, which I'm totally fine with, right? We all have the power to say things. But what I didn't have the opportunity to mention, and I actually really saved it for doing like a follow-up piece of content this week, was that validation has many levels. And if you're someone who listened to my previous podcast, the Good Karma Success Coach, I talk about sound bites and perspective on episode 219. And what I mean by that is what seems to be going around out there is this kind of negative vibe and energy towards the word validation. And if someone uses the word validation, it's kind of getting like a bad rap, let's say. But honestly, there's many levels to validation. So I think the context that is being used out there is that people are maybe looking for validation before they take the next step, before they take action, before they believe in themselves, some type of aspect along those lines. And I totally get that. I certainly do not tend to wait for someone to approve. It's really an approval, if you think about it, before I do something, right? I tend to trust my intuition, which I have worked on. And I talk a lot about intuition and building your intuition and using your intuition and nurturing your intuition. But that is just one sound bite about validation. There's actually a really positive soundbite about validation, and that is that if someone else says the same thing, which kind of goes in line with Big Magic, which is a book written by Elizabeth Gilbert, that's really cool. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I said that too. That's really awesome. We both said the same thing. And then sometimes that validation can help you build your confidence, and there's nothing wrong with that. Another way that validation is really helpful is that if you're trying to learn something new, let's say you're a spiritual teacher and you're trying to learn how to work with your clients, maybe on a psychic level or as an energy healer, when you get the validation that you're on the right path, then that's really awesome. And that is helpful. It's like getting feedback, right? It's kind of the same vibe, just you're getting feedback. You can call it validation. You can call it feedback, whatever floats your boat. But there's nothing wrong with the word validation. So I just wanted to share a little bit of context and clarity, really understanding that there's so many sound bites out there on social media. Think about it. We are trying to get information condensed even into a smaller shorter time frame, more and more and more, because everyone's attention spans are so short, right? There's YouTube shorts, there's all these like little short tiny sound bites. A quote is just a sound bite. I just looked at something on LinkedIn and I was like, yeah, that's okay, but there's many levels to what that quote was about, right? There's many levels, and I always respond to someone's content with many levels if there's many levels to what they're saying, and what they're saying is just a soundbite. So what I'm sharing with you today is just keep these things in mind so you're not triggered and you're not held back from your own progress in moving forward. So I hope you like this little video. If you'd like to connect with me, please do. I would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching, please feel free to reach out to me, or a business audit, and keep in touch with me. I'm always doing different specials and different little things here and there to kind of just, keep life interesting, right? So until then, thanks for watching and have a good one. Thanks. Bye.